Hello class 6, welcome to your English language class. We shall begin with chapter 10, verb tenses today. I urge you to keep your books open at page number 76. Let's begin with understanding what tense is, children. Tense, as we know, indicates the time of an action. Tense is the form of the verb of the finite verb which talks about the time when an action has taken place or took place in the past or is about to take place in the future. Definitely verb tenses represents or indicates the time of an action. Now verb tenses can be divided broadly into three parts. One is the present tense, the second is the past tense, and the third is the future tense. Now these three tense forms can be further divided into some more subparts. In this class, children, in class 6, you do not have all the subparts. You will only understand what the simple forms of these tenses are and the continuous forms of these three tenses. Now simple present, children, indicates an action that takes place now. When we use a verb in the simple present tense form, we use it in order to indicate an action that takes place now in the present. When we use a verb in the simple past form, we indicate an action that has already taken place before in the past. And for the future, we use verb forms which indicate actions that will take place later, sometimes later, perhaps in the future. Now look at this box here, children. The box that you can see here, simple, continuous, perfect. This gives us, there are 3 rows of verbs used here, and these talk about the verbs used in the indefinite forms or the simple forms, in the continuous forms, and in the perfect forms. In the present form, a verb is used in its root form, that is work. As you know, work is a plural form of verb and works is a singular form of verb. You have already learned this in subject-verb agreement, the forms of verbs which are singular and which are plural. So works, which has got an S with it, stands for a singular verb, he works. And work, which is a plural verb, stands for or is used for a plural subject, that is they work. In the simple present form, we use he works or they work. In the continuous form, we use am, is, are plus the root form of the verb plus ing. So this should be am working, is working, or are working. And in the perfect tense form, we use, in the present form, we use has or have plus past participle form of the verb. Past participle form of the verb is the third form, that is the one which is used with the perfect tense forms, that is worked. He has worked or they have worked. In the past, we use worked, that is the second form of the verb, work plus ed. In the continuous, since it is past, we use was or were, was for the singular and were for the plural, was working or were working. In the perfect form of the past, we use had plus past participle form of verb, that is worked, had worked. In future, we use shall or will plus the root form of the work, we will work or I shall work. And in the continuous, we use shall or will plus be plus root form of the verb plus ing. And then we have in the perfect tense forms shall or will plus have plus past participle form of verb. So I shall have worked, they will have worked. This is how we use this. The first and foremost thing that you need to learn, children, is in the simple forms, in the continuous forms, and in the perfect forms. This time you have only simple and continuous forms, in fact, and you have only present perfect and not the past and the future perfect. So you are to understand the structure of the sentences in the present form and in the past form, and in the simple and the continuous forms. So you should be first of all sure about how to identify the tense form in a sentence. Once you know how to identify that, you will be able to know what kind of tense forms to be used according to the tense of the, or according to the time as indicated by the sentence. Now moving on to page number 77, children, there is an exercise that you have seen in the, there was an exercise in the previous page, page 76. I urge you to do that as homework. Identify the tense forms of the underlined words there, underlined words or phrases there. Now come to this, let's learn. Tense helps us express an action in terms of time. That is what we started with. Let us see, let us understand that with the help of a timeline. You can see a timeline is drawn here. There is this is divided into three parts. One is A, another B, and the third is C. The present is B. What has happened earlier or before in the past is A, that is past, and what will happen or is about to happen in the future or in later than when the time I am talking represents the future. So point A stands for the time that is already gone before, point B stands for the present time now, and point C stands for the time which is yet to come later. Remember this timeline when you try to use correct verbs according to the time which is indicated by the meaning of the sentence. Now simple present tense, children, let's begin with this. Simple present tense can be used in various types of sentences. It can be used in affirmative sentences, can be used in negative sentences, in yes no questions or WH questions also. For example, in affirmative sentences, he or she sings, I, we, you, they sing. Take care of the verbs that you use. Be very careful. We know that a verb plus S, when a verb takes an S or an ES with it, it should be used with the third person singular. Therefore, he, she sings, I, we, you, they sing. Negative sentences, he, she does not sing, I, we, you, they do not sing. Also notice the change in the do verb. With I, we, you, they, we do not use does, but we use es, we add es to do only to be used with the third person singular, that is he, she and it. Yes no questions, does he, she sing, and do I, we, you, they sing. For WH questions, when does he or she sing, when do I, you, we, they sing. This is how we frame sentences in the present form. Now let's take a look at the structures of these sentences in the next slide. Children, in this page you can see there are two exercises. I urge you to do these as homework. These will be some practice exercises for you. Let's look at this remember part, this green portion. The verb is used in its base form for the simple present tense with the first person singular and plural I and we, the second person singular and plural you, the third person plural. That is what I just explained to you. Verb plus S or ES will be used with the third person singular. Apart from that, the verb in its base form will be used with all the rest of the persons. The verb is used in its base form for the simple present tense also in negative sentences as well as in interrogative sentences, and S or ES is added to the verb in its simple present form when used with the third person singular number, he, she, it or any other proper name. Okay, now let's move on to the next slide, which will give us structures of these sentences. Now notice in an affirmative sentence, first of all we begin with the subject I, we, you, they, Ashim and Prerna. Here you will see that the persons are first person singular plural, second person singular plural, third person plural. Okay, and there are two nouns joined by the conjunction and, Ashim and Prerna. These are two nouns, that is a plural noun here. Therefore, then we use the verb watch and then object or complement. Television. I watch television, you watch television, Ashim and Prerna watch television. But the same verb, when is used with the third person singular, he watches television, she watches television, Prerna watches television. Notice here Prerna is in the singular, it is not in the plural, but Ashim and Prerna together make plural subject. So the verb in the previous sentence was plural, that is watch. In negative sentences, children, I, you, we, they, Ashim and Prerna, and then the negative word, the verb plus the do verb as well as the negative word, the word of negation, that is not, do not. The base form of verb watch, because we have introduced do here, we are going to use the base form of verb watch here. An object or complement is television. So I do not watch television, you do not watch television, they do not watch television, Ashim and Prerna do not watch television. Now for the third person singular, he does not watch television, she does not watch television, Prerna does not watch television. So we have added an es to the do verb because we are to use this with a singular third person. Okay. Now interrogative sentences. In interrogative sentences, you know that we should begin the sentence either with a WH question word or we can begin with auxiliaries. Here we are going to begin with the do verb. Do I watch television? Do you watch television? Do they watch television? The same for third person singular. Does she watch television? Does Prerna watch television? This is the usual form of the sentence. First an auxiliary verb, then subject, then verb in the base form, then we use the object or complement. Next is WH questions. Why do I watch television? For WH questions, first of all we use the WH word, then we use the do verb, then we use the subject plus the base form of verb plus the object or complement. This is the usual structure. Why do you watch television? We can never say why you do watch television. That is a wrong sentence. Remember, whenever we frame a question, right after the WH word there should be a verb used. Never forget this. Right after the WH word there should be a verb used. Only after the verb the subject should be used, then the verb should be used, and then some information which is given about the subject. So it could be an object or a complement. I hope it is clear till here, children. Now moving on to our next slide. This is page 81. Uses of simple present tense form. We use the simple present tense when we talk about general or universal truths. That is to talk about something that was true in the past, is true now and will be true in future. So a general truth or a universal truth is that which cannot be changed, which will always remain the same. For example, the sun rises in the east. Will the sun ever rise from the north or the south? Never, right children? So this is something that is true. It's a universal fact. Nobody can ever change it. The earth goes round the sun. The same for this sentence also. Sugar tastes sweet. Can sugar ever taste bitter or sour? No. So for general truths or universal truths, we always use the simple present tense. To talk about routine activities, activities which are done on a daily basis, okay, something which is done as a routine. For example, the school assembly begins at 9 every morning. We visit our grandparents during the winter holidays. We find that for such kind of activities which take place habitually, we use the simple present form. I go for a walk every morning. I go for a walk. When I say every morning, this is an action which I do habitually every day. So I can never say I went for a walk every morning, isn't it? I go for a walk every morning. To talk about characteristics, this is number 3. When we talk about the characteristics of a person, a thing, the nature of maybe anything at all, an animal, a tree, characteristic traits of a thing or a person is always expressed in the simple present tense. Okay, the cheetah runs fast. honey is sweet, Bengalis love fish. This is what all these sentences talk about characteristics. Next, number 4, to talk about habits. Sarah drinks tea with sugar. This is again talking about some habit. Siddhu usually wakes up at 5 in the morning. So, when we also talk about certain habits which certain actions which are taken as habits by people, these are also expressed in the simple present tense. Okay, a few more examples, children. Remember one thing, simple present tense is also known as present indefinite tense. So, if you are given present indefinite tense instead of simple present, never get confused. Now, some more uses of the simple present tense. The simple present tense is used in exclamatory sentences. Yes, what a beautiful picture this is. We will not say what a beautiful picture this was. Okay, so in an exclamatory sentence, we use simple present forms. Here comes the bus. Okay. Next, the simple present tense is sometimes used to represent a future action. An action which is already part of some plan which may happen in the future, but this can be expressed in the simple present form. They leave for Delhi tomorrow. So, instead of saying they will leave for tomorrow, if we say they leave for Delhi tomorrow is also correct. Our school reopens on Monday. Our school, the new session begins on 4th April. This is what is written in your report card every year, right? 4th April or 6th April, whatever the date is. But you will notice it is always mentioned as the new session begins or the school reopens, because these scheduled times are already a part of a timetable. For such kind of actions which may take place in the future but are already a part of a scheduled timetable, these are also expressed in the simple present tense. I hope I could make myself clear to you, children. Please listen to the this audio so that you have a better understanding of this kind of tense form. You have 2 more exercises in page 82. Please do this as homework. Thank you very much, children. Have a nice day. Bye bye.